This is Carly and Coleman. Think of it like part 2 in a series. And oh yes, there will be blood.
Welcome to What Haunts You, a podcast about the stories that haunt our dreams. Find us on Instagram at What Haunts You Pod and find our episodes on YouTube and Spotify. I'm your host, Carly, and today we are back to the extended Saw universe to talk about Saw 2, which means we are also welcoming back Coleman. So welcome back, Coleman.
Good to be back. Good to continue talking about my favorite series that I've watched entirely too many times.
And I'm excited to get into the complexity of like Saw 2 through 4, because I think that's one of the best like eras of Saw as we were talking about before.
Yeah, definitely. And This is also probably the number one picked as favorite movie of fans.
I can see that. What is your favorite Saw movie? I don't think I know that.
I'm horrible at favorites in general. For many years, I went back and forth between this and the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I've told you this before, but I used to not like Saw 3, and every time I've seen it, I've liked it better than the previous time. So it's now possibly my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
But the other possible answer would be Saw X.
I think Saw X is my favorite. I know that one's not for a while, but I'm really excited to talk about that one.
Currently, it's my favorite. Currently, it's the one I know the least.
Yeah. Did I tell you I watched that on a plane once?
Nice.
I watched it on my phone, so I felt like it was fine, but the lady next to me didn't think it was as fine. But I felt like it was easy to not look.
That's perfect. Yeah, I know I told you this, but I watched it in 4D, 5D, whatever you want to call it. And by that, I mean there was a rat running around the theater.
Yeah. Get into that hyper reality.
Right.
So there's something really different about watching Saw 2 compared to Saw 1 or just Saw, I guess. But in the first Saw movie, you don't know how complicated things are really going to be. It's really only at the end of the movie that you realize that this is like a complex web of people. And so when you go into the second one, it's like ramped the fuck up because you know that like nothing is what it seems and that there's going to be twists and turns along the way and like people who are connected in ways we don't understand yet. And that this is all like much bigger than it seemed going into Saw 1. So I'm curious, you remember, I think, better than I do when these movies came out and like seeing them for the first time. So do you remember like what you thought going into the second one for the first time?
So before I answer your question, something I thought of with your statement, this movie's sort of the complete opposite of it. It starts off way more complex than it appears to be. You've got this whole big story with the house. Oh, spoiler warning for this movie and the whole franchise, by the way.
Yeah.
You start with this whole big house and all this other stuff that seems so important, and none of it matters. All of it is just a prop in Detective Matthews' game.
Right.
And it completely switches. But to your actual question, I said this in the last episode that I first saw the first Saw movie at a friend's birthday party before the second one came out. And I don't think I saw the second one in theaters. I know I saw the third one except Spiral, I wasn't able to see in theaters. Spiral and Jigsaw, I wasn't. But I saw all the other in the original franchise in theaters. And I went in there not knowing what to expect, not expecting the half-dead Jon Kramer for the whole movie. I definitely wasn't expecting the main movie to be a conversation between a psychopath who's taunting. When the first Saw came out, people were calling it a mix of Silence of the Lambs and Seven, which both were big inspirations, especially Seven.
But this
And
is better. I think this is better than either of those movies. I know that might be a controversial statement, but I think it outdoes them.
That's an interesting statement. And I don't know if I agree, but I don't know that I disagree. I will say I love Seven. I love all the Hannibal movies, even the bad ones. But I love the Saw franchise better, but I don't know that Silence of the Lambs itself. That's a good. I'd have to think about that.
Yeah.
But anyway, John and Matthew's talking is sort of Seven distilled.
Right.
It's John Doe from Seven talking to Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt's characters. I don't remember their names.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's one of the other big things about Saw 2. In the first one, Jon Kramer is like looming over the story, but he's only minimally in it. And this is where they really ramp that up and decide to make him a fuller character and like make him a participant in the story in a way that he sort of isn't in the first one, even though obviously he is like engineering all of it.
In so many ways, the Saw franchise is a perfect story of things just getting lucky. And I'll talk about that more when we talk more about this movie. But in the first movie, they cast Tobin Bell specifically because of his voice. And other than recording the tapes, which they distorted anyway,
right?
He has literally one line: "You'll find the key in the bathtub, game over." That's it.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't say anything in the hospital. He doesn't say anything that's not distorted, and they cast him just for his voice. They could have cast any actor with a voice. I mean, my voice, when I do it, isn't as good as his, but you throw a little distortion, what's the difference?
Yeah, and you're younger, so your voice hasn't aged enough yet.
Right, but, you know, they could have cast any old white guy with a deep, raspy voice.
Yeah.
And this movie, Saw 2, only works as it is because they cast Tobin Bell.
Absolutely. And I think that it's so funny because Tobin Bell like visibly looks like the nicest man in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When we age, our like wrinkles kind of tell on us a little bit, and he has nice person wrinkles. He has like smiley like pleasant face wrinkles on his face. I don't know if you like noticed that or not, but he
has the most adorable smile throughout this movie.
Yeah, and I think that sells it so much that like this is ultimately a good man like driven to all of this by tragedy, and it really sells that more because he is such a friendly looking person.
Right. And Jon Kramer absolutely believes what you just said is true. Yeah. It's not, but he believes it.
You don't believe that he was a good guy before all of this?
I believe that his intentions were always good.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But I also believe he was always a sociopath, psychopath, whichever you want to use.
He was definitely controlling.
Exactly. Jill talks later about him planning their conception to the month for the Chinese zodiac and so on. The man was a pure engineer. And I work with a lot of engineers. Some of my best friends are engineers. I've got a chosen sister who's an engineer. But a pure engineer is a form of psychopath.
Well, because it's very like cold and systematic in this way in the way that Jon Kramer is.
Right. And like his smiles throughout this movie, he's not smiling because he's happy, except one part I'll say in a second. He's smiling specifically to get under Detective Matthews' skin.
Yeah.
And he claims not to be a killer. We all know that's a lie. He claims Saw 3 has a line. This is my favorite trap. I said that completely wrong, but introducing the rack, he talks about how brutal it is and calls it his personal favorite. Mm-hmm. The smile he gives on, "Oh yes, there will be blood," is, you can tell that's not just fucking with Matthews. That is fully actually enjoying the suffering. whether it's enjoying Matthew's suffering or whoever else's, but
And the whole time, like, the question kind of hangs over the whole franchise of, like, what percent of his behavior and his, like, taking pleasure in all of this is caused by the brain tumor versus just something he gave up on holding back.
yeah, I think the brain tumor probably, and definitely all his other trauma got rid of his inhibitions. But whether he was sadistic or not is something I cannot begin to answer beyond purely guessing. I think he was always logical and emotionless.
I don't know. I don't know if I believe emotionless. I feel like he is.
Lacking empathy is what I mean.
Yeah, that maybe that feels more accurate because I think he's he's actually quite emotional.
Yes, you're right. Whether he can see emotions in other people, I don't think so.
He's not concerned for other people's emotions.
Yes.
So in Saw 2, the cold open, because it's a Saw movie, so obviously we just are thrown into the fire, right?
Yeah.
The cold open is a man named Michael, and Michael is a police informant. And we see Michael, and he's not quite missing an eye. His eye is fucked up, though. Like, his eye is swollen, and clearly something has been done to his eye. And he is hooked up to a trap that is a death mask that will essentially, when his time runs out, spring shut and kill him. So he is tasked with removing the key from behind his eye, and he kind of like starts to try to do it, but then he gives up and starts calling for help, which never works in a Saw franchise situation. So eventually the trap shuts on him and he dies. And that's the first, 2 minutes of the movie.
Yes. So his tape begins with, "Hello, Michael, blah, blah, blah." And then John, as the puppet, quote unquote, Billy, says the exact same line he says in Saw 1 with Amanda with the same inflection. I'll do one first. "Think of it like a reverse bear trap. Think of it like a Venus flytrap." And I put this trap in a very specific category for if I were in it. Mm-hmm. I put it in the category of traps that I would just let myself die.
Yeah. I actually think that this trap almost seems like the worst trap to me. I like can't even put eye drops in my eyes. I turn into like, I don't know if you watch Bob's Burgers, but there's like an episode where Gail, one of the main character's sisters, like needs to put eye drops in, and she starts like screaming and like having a huge meltdown and just like totally freaking out when her sister is trying to put eye drops in her. And like, that's how I am if I try to put an eye drop. So I like the idea of being able to take like a scalpel to my eyeball is just totally, that's so beyond anything I could ever do in even, I think, the most dire situation.
What's interesting for me about it, like, I have trouble with eye drops, but not much trouble. I can put them in. There's a trap in Saw 4 that costs, if the person were to survive, it costs them both eyes, whereas this would only cost one. Mm-hmm. I could survive that trap.
I think I could survive that one too, because I'm not, this is not a visual medium, but I'm not having to like hold the thing in front of my eye. I just have to push a button.
Exactly.
And I feel like that's more doable, because I think when I can see it, everything in me would be telling me to pull my hand away.
Exactly. And I mean, I say this as someone who's performed very minor surgeries on myself. I mean, like, removing a splinter, worse than that, but, that level of minor.
Right.
Like, I can, if I had to cut into my arm for some reason, I think I could. But my eye, no way. If it was guaranteed, cut my eye out, guaranteed I will live. All I have to do is remove the eye. Maybe.
I don't even think I could do it then. I don't even think I could.
I don't know. But if it was cut out your eye, dig in, pull out a key, unlock it, and get it off in under a minute, I am just going to die.
Yeah.
Instead of screaming for help or fighting with it, I would sit there as long as I could. And I say this with the meta knowledge of the series of knowing, maybe I don't trigger it until then.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I just sit there for a day and someone finds me and I live. Or, much more likely, something else triggers it, or I die of dehydration or whatever. But if the timer started ticking, I wouldn't be screaming for help. I would just be screaming obscenities at Jon.
I think I would just like sit down. I think I would just sit on the ground and wait.
Yeah, sit down, meditate, pray, whatever. Just that's it.
So what is your rating for this trap? What are we giving this trap out of 10?
I want to give it one other bit of behind the scenes information.
Ooh, yeah.
This is one of the most dangerous traps in real life in the movie.
Oh.
Many of the traps in the series are fully functional, as you know. And as we talked about last time, right before the reverse bear trap, they told Amanda, by the way, this really works. Or they told Shawnee for Amanda, and some of the fear in her face is real. This is a 20-pound metal device that really worked. They took a cast of the actor's head to build it so that they wouldn't accidentally cut off his ear or something by making it too small. And then when they built it, they had to constantly run down the battery because it closed too quickly.
Oh my God.
The nails that hit his face are rubber and they push aside. They're harmless, but, just tilting your head to the side, it could mess you up or kill you.
Yeah. And even like best case scenario, just wearing, I mean, I don't know how many shots it took to get what they needed, right? But like even just wearing these really, really heavy contraptions on your neck seems just deeply uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah. And having to move around acting, it's major respect for a minor character.
Yeah. And you're going to laugh, I think, when I say this, because it's so this is like we're spoiling the whole franchise. I don't know. Yeah. Like, if you really care, then don't listen to these till you finish the whole series, I guess. But
yeah,
prefacing this with like, I understand that this is obvious. It never really occurred to me that like Dr. Gordon is doing all of these procedures.
Well,
I just like didn't think about, I didn't read into it. I just like took it at face value of like, oh, someone is putting this key in his eye. And I only for the first time, I think this watch consciously, I'm sure like it was probably buried somewhere in my brain, but consciously was like, that's probably Dr. Gordon.
So, Carly?
Is it not?
It never really occurred to the writers either.
Oh.
Here's what happened. When they wrote it, Darren Lynn Bosman, who co-wrote and co-directed it, and it was his first movie.
Wait, did I ever tell you that I met him?
You did not.
I met him at like a show for like another project that like people he had worked with in the past were doing. And I like got to talk to him for a few minutes.
That is awesome. That is great.
Yeah, it was very cool. He was really, really friendly. He was like drunk, I think. I don't know. I guess I shouldn't say for sure.
So he's got about a minute of screen time in this movie.
Yeah.
He worked as a stand-in for Detective Matthews for about, I think, one shot in the end of the movie.
Oh.
And when Matthews is going through the house after he leaves Jon before he gets knocked out by Amanda, that's Darren for like one or two of the shots.
Oh, that's funny.
But also, he's the one who did the procedure on Michael. He's the one in that row.
Oh, like on film.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so funny.
And when he wrote it, Jon was the one doing the surgery.
Which makes no sense, literally no sense. But it is funny. When I met him, I like saw him from kind of across the room and like did that thing where I wanted to walk up to him, but I was only like 90% sure it was him because I was like, he could just be some white guy. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. Like he's not like, he doesn't have any like super, super defining characteristics. So I was like pretty sure, but not 100% sure. So I like definitely stared at him creepily for like 10 minutes before I decided to walk up to him.
You've always been a voyeur watching other people play games. Anyway, yeah, so that's Darren doing the surgery in real life. And when he wrote it as Jon doing the surgery, and they talk about in the audio commentary on this movie, he does a little limp in there. And one of the either, I believe it was Donnie Wahlberg, Donnie Kopberg, whatever you want to call him, who plays Detective Eric Matthews, who asked about the limp, and he said, I was just trying to put some personality on it. It was my first time on screen. I wanted to do something. And then in one of the later Saw movies, in the commentary, Darren said he did that limp because it was him being Jon having cancer. Then you'll see in the Saw 7 commentary, and we've talked about before that I figured out the twist of Saw 7 before Saw 3 came out. Because you figure Dr. Gordon, if he's alive, why was this house never reported unless he was working with them? If he's dead, where's his body? I mean, there's more to it than that, but that's the short answer. And they retconned it in 7 that this was Gordon. But Darren wrote it as Jon. He limped either to put character or retconned that to be Jon's cancer. I mean, he's in a wheelchair a couple days later. Later on, they retconned it to be Gordon. So it absolutely is Gordon. But I knew it was Gordon before the person playing him or who wrote it knew it was Gordon.
Yeah.
So you're not late.
Yeah, it's just so fun. It's just funny. I've seen them all so many times. And
that said, I do believe in 7 it shows it being Gordon. I believe they shot a scene or put footage of it in the reveal in 7 to show that it was him. But again, that wasn't written when this was filmed.
That's funny. That makes me feel a little bit better about it because I felt very silly when I had the thought that it was the first time I had the thought. But so that's our cold open. Then we get, title screen.
Oh, and you asked me to actually rank the trap. Let's see.
Yeah, what are you giving that trap?
Let's see. As one of Jon's traps, I'll give it a really high score because it is technically survivable. It is related to what the person did, being an informant, using his eyes, blah, blah, blah. There's nothing cheap about it. In terms of Jon's ideals and what an ideal Saw trap should be, I'm going to give it a solid 10 out of 10 because it's what a Saw trap should be. In terms of entertainment, it's a great cold open trap, great reaction. I'm going to give it a mechanical everything 10 out of 10. In terms of my favorites, it's not one of my favorites, but I've got nothing I can say against it. Just not one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's fair. I gave it a 6 kind of for the reasons that you said. Like, it's good. It gets the job done. It's a good cold open. It works as a trap. I really mostly took away from it because it feels like unoriginal in the way that all of the things that kind of remind me of the reverse bear trap feel like a little bit repetitive, but it's that also makes it such a classic. So you can't like give it like a 2 because it's not original, because it's like such a quintessential type of trap.
And behind the camera, it was inspired by the reverse bear trap. Right. Obviously.
So after the cold open, we see like kind of a flashback of Detective Matthews and his son Daniel. And they get in a fight. Detective Matthews is kind of an asshole and basically like yells in his face. And then Daniel walks away, kind of like seemingly to go home to his mom. Like the parents are going through a divorce.
I think they're already divorced, but yeah.
Well, he says divorce lawyers, so it seems like they're.
That's right.
I think they're separated, but they're not. They're like, it seems like they're in the middle of like a very hostile divorce.
You're correct, I think.
Yeah, and there's a lot of implication that he has like bad anger issues and like is violent. Like there's we find out a lot more about him, and he's not such a great guy.
We find out he was cheating with Detective Carey.
Yeah, and framing people for crimes they didn't commit. Like he's like actually kind of just a piece of shit. He's like arguably maybe like the worst person we've seen be tested.
If anyone deserves it, it's him.
Yeah.
Not that anyone deserves it, but
he's closer to deserving it than, say, Amanda, who was like an addict, right? And like that was kind of the extent of her crimes against herself and her own life.
Amanda, who was an addict, who started in jail after Matthews arrested her for possession.
Yeah. Oh, this movie is nuts. But we see them have this fight. We see Daniel walk away. And then later that night, Detective Matthews is trying to reach Daniel, and Daniel's not reachable. So he's worried. And I actually kind of forgot that this early that is his child. So that gets revealed to the other people. We're like skipping around, but again, spoilers abound here. I thought that was revealed to us when it was revealed to everyone in the movie. And I kind of forgot that you already know that going into the trap.
Meanwhile, you've got Amanda there pretending not to know it.
Yeah, another thing I noticed only really for the first time this time I watched it was like how not run down Amanda looked by the end of the time in the house.
So they talk about this in the commentary.
Ooh.
There are two major clues, but it is the biggest clue that she's working with Jon, and that is everyone else has sores on them.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else is coughing, except Amanda, and also Daniel Matthews doesn't.
Yeah.
And the reason is they were both given the antidote before they went in there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because she does look tired. Like, she looks a little bit run down, but she looks like normal run down, and the rest of them look like they're dying.
Correct. And they talk about in the commentary that she's had the antidote. They don't talk about Daniel. And I assume Daniel was given some, but a purposely smaller dose so that he wouldn't suspect that he's not getting sick. But yeah, she has the antidote. She's healthy. She does throw up when she first wakes up.
Mm-hmm.
And the others don't, which could be a reaction to the antidote. I know behind camera that was Shawnee's idea. She said, I want to throw up when I wake up. But again, that could be like the antidote, that could be the knockout drug, whatever.
It also could just be actual stress, even if she's working, because with this many people involved in a single trap, and like that's the other thing. In the rest of the franchise, there's a lot more of this like multi-person trap, right? It stops being it, like in the first one it's two people, but we start seeing more of these like group situations. And even if she's working in a situation with that many people, there are just so many variables, right? Like there are so many points throughout this process where she could have died.
And then the other thing on that, which goes to what you just said, is a question I've asked myself a lot of times, and I have my answer, but I don't know if I'm right. Does she know everything that's going on in that house? And the reason I ask that, she says to Matthews at the end, you're my first test. So I see the house as one of Jon's tests, not one of hers. And yes, it's part of her test for Matthews, but I feel like, I know she helped set up, they show that in one of the later movies. I feel like she knows some of the stuff in the house, but not all of it. And she purposely doesn't know all of it so that she'd be able to not blow her cover with them. But my assumption is she knows what she set up. She knows, don't do this, you'll die. Don't do that, you'll die. And beyond that, she might have a couple aces up her sleeve that she never reveals. But I think stuff in the house was new to her too. Some of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would make sense. And I think also, like, I almost view it as the traps within the house are Jon Kramer's traps, but the trap against Detective Matthews is Amanda's trap, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
Like, Jon is testing the people in the house, and she is testing Detective Matthews.
I think her rules are get out alive, keep Daniel alive, make everyone else play by the rules as best as possible. That's her mission in the house. Yeah. That's it. She's not testing people. She's just there to keep them following the rules.
Yeah. So they're in the house, but we're like, it's so hard to stay in plot because it's so convoluted. So the way that this all kind of kicks off is that Detective Matthews gets called into a murder scene. He's kind of like riding the desk at this point. It sounds like he has some complaints against him for maybe violence, maybe lying, maybe framing people. Like, it's hard to say which things have been complaints against him because there are so many things he seems to be doing that are not okay.
He does have the line, I've got IA breathing down my neck.
Yes. And so he is called into a murder scene, which is like not normal for him at that point. They find Michael the informant dead with a jigsaw piece carved into his body. And Detective Matthews is kind of like, hell no, I like don't want to get involved in this. I have enough things going on.
He's saying to the woman he cheated on his wife with, why are you calling me in to see my dead boyfriend? And the reason I say that is he's called in to identify the informant, and Carrie says, the problem is we can't look at his face. And then he identifies him by a tattoo right below his ass cheek. And why a detective would know that about his informant, a small tattoo above his ass cheek, if they're not fucking.
That's a good question.
I also know on the commentary, Donnie Wahlberg made this joke too. So whether it was written to be that, I'm sure it wasn't. But it's definitely headcanon.
Yeah, fair enough. That's really funny. So they find his boyfriend, and he does not really want to get involved. He's like, I'm getting divorced. My son keeps getting in trouble. I'm not trying to get involved in something this heavy right now. Like, I have enough on my plate.
Look closer, Detective Matthews.
Right. And so obviously Jon Kramer doesn't play that game. If he wants you in, you're in. And he wrote on the wall, look closer, Detective Matthews. So Detective Matthews is in. There's no way around it. So after this, like, the SWAT team is going to a warehouse that they found like a connection to from this body.
And that's my favorite behind the scenes story in this movie. And I know I've told you this before, but they rented a real SWAT van and they had it for 4 hours, and they almost didn't get the shots because the SWAT van wouldn't go above 15 miles per hour, even flooring it. So they did the traditional Saw car chase of just speeding up the footage and people shaking it and stuff. They finally went to return the SWAT van, found out the parking brake was on. You can also see the camera crew reflected on the side of the van at one point.
Oh, I forgot to look for that. I have to go back.
One of the biggest problems with the SWAT team, which they talk about too, is SWAT team that size would probably have helicopters and stuff, but Rigg has a line that I think is kind of hilarious too, which is first he says, remember, we're doing this in broad daylight. There's civilians out there, so try not to scare anyone. And then he says, we're going to go in teams of 3. I'll be on Alpha team. We're going to go in and scare whoever's inside.
Yeah.
It's literally that long between let's try not to scare anyone, but scare everyone inside.
Yeah, he's like, we're going to scare whoever happens to be inside.
Yeah, I think that's exactly whoever happens.
Yeah, because I thought that was funny too. But yeah, so they go in and there are like traps and contraptions everywhere. And I think unexpectedly, they like actually find Jon Kramer there. They actually find Jigsaw there, which I don't even know if they expected to find him there.
I don't think so. I think they were probably expecting to either find evidence that he'd been there that they might be able to use, or maybe find another trap. But I don't think anyone expected him to be there.
Yeah, but he is there.
Yeah. If they were expecting him, they might have been a little more prepared for booby traps.
Yeah, I think prepared for booby traps, but also prepared for like the kind of mental game of chess that ensues here.
Yes. And the one booby trap that they show, I assume you have that on your list of traps to talk about on the staircase.
You want to explain it?
Sure. So some cops they get inside the warehouse, they open a gate with a bolt cutter and start going up a gated off staircase, and steps on a pressure plate, which triggers Billy to come out and start laughing, and then hit a tripwire, and a bolt shoots forward, breaks legs. Doesn't necessarily kill any of the cops. In the original version that they wrote but didn't shoot because it would have been too difficult, it was a blade that was going to cut off legs instead of just breaking.
Yeah, that would have been hard to film, but that would have been sick.
Either way, this goes so perfectly with Jon's I'm not a murderer, when he's literally just crippling cops for life for doing their job in a position that he literally asked them to come to.
Yeah. Wow, they really pulled a Misery on that. Instead of like cutting off the limbs, they just kind of fuck the limbs up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Switching from the book to the movie, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Which makes sense. I
But
mean,
yeah,
that does make sense. I think that's like like chopping limbs off is a hard thing to pull off in a convincing way.
yes. But this is a perfect example of John's hypocrisy because he wanted those cops there not to test those cops. All their purpose was to fuck with Detective Matthews. That was their only reason to be injured.
And I didn't even rank this trap because it's not really a Saw trap.
Yeah,
It's like a more violent Home Alone trap. It's not a
right.
Jigsaw, like, let me test your survival instincts trap.
It's not a game. Yeah. But as far as I know, there was no way around it. I mean, yes, okay, the tripwire and the pressure plate were separate. If they looked very closely, they could theoretically avoid it. But that's not realistic. So you could argue it's a Saw 4 prequel to get Riggs not to rush in, but I guarantee you that hadn't been written or conceived of yet. So I go with it's John being petty, doing it just to fuck with Matthews and probably also to fuck with Carrie. It's a bullshit. It shows his bullshit because, I detest murderers, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to cripple or kill someone just for doing their job properly.
But really for not letting me do what I think is my job properly.
Right. And it doesn't even stop him. And he wants them to get through. So it's just his hypocrisy. So for a story development trap, I think it's actually more important because it shows that stuff. But as a Saw trap,
yeah,
I don't know, 2.
Yeah. Like it's almost negligible as a Saw trap.
It's negligible and hypocritical, but it looks cool. That's why it's not 1.
It does. It's a good moment in the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they get there, Jigsaw is there, and he tells them that they cannot leave. And this is where the house trap as a whole gets introduced. So we see like a bunch of monitors with video surveillance of the inside of a house. And
I'm going to help you with your problem in the other room.
Is that what he says?
Yeah, he tells Matthews, we can't leave not till you deal with your problem in the other room.
Right.
And then Matthews looks at like 2 pixels, realizes it's his son, comes back and goes, who's that? That's your son, Detective Matthews. Don't you remember him?
So his son is in this house that is filled with a slow-acting poison gas. Jon Kramer loves a slow-acting poison. That's like one of his favorite things.
It's a slowed down version of sarin gas.
He references the Tokyo subway attacks,
which was sarin, and they did real research on it, which it would kill you in about 30 minutes. So they slowed it down to 2 hours.
30 minutes would be a little fast for a movie.
Yeah.
But I have so much trouble keeping the names of everyone straight. Could you do like a quick little rundown of who is in the house?
Okay, we've got Jonas, who's an older spoiler, but not spoiler, they're all former criminals or convicts, whatever, not necessarily criminals. Jonas, who's an old timer, probably done a lot of time. He's probably the most innocent victim in the game. He's got people on the outside who he owes money or whatever else to, who are going to come for his family. And again, John's just creating innocent victims there. Then we've got the other old tough guy, big motherfucker, Xavier.
Scary,
who,
big scary man.
From all accounts was the life of the party off camera. He made people laugh nonstop. One scene late in the movie, he's chasing Amanda and Daniel and pounding on a door. They told him, just kick on the door as hard as you can. He kicked over the wall. And to his credit, the wall falls down. They're all holding back laughter, and he keeps acting and keeps charging at them, yelling, screaming, and big old smile on his face because the set's ruined.
Yeah.
But he, like, half his lines were improvised.
Wow. And he was really selling it. He was scary.
Yeah. Then we've got Obi or Abi. And the reason I say it like that, we find his tape. His name is spelled Obi. Xavier says, "What the fuck's an Obi?" And he goes, "Abi." 2 syllables, Abi.
Mm-hmm.
It's my name. And then on the tape, Jon calls him Obi. Same inflection, but O, not A, so they all get it different. But Abi is maybe the most evil person in the game. He is an arsonist. He is a kidnapper who kidnapped a lot of these people because they hadn't written that Hoffman was working on this too yet. And so they needed a kidnapper. So Jon gives him a free antidote as help for that. He's also someone I'm a little scared to meet in real life. To research his role for the crematorium, he read a bunch of books about cremation, spent a night sleeping in a cremation oven.
Oh.
He improvised what might be my favorite line in the entire franchise. "If you're going to threaten me with a knife, may as well cut me a little."
Yeah, that is cold.
Or rather, he didn't improvise it. He requested it. He said, "I want to do this."
Yeah.
And he's got a stone cold straight face while Xavier is completely deflated. And then we've got, I think the only other guy in there besides Daniel is a guy named Gus who doesn't live very long. We actually see his trap. He's got the trap that Emmanuel, who I'll mention in a moment, dies in. He was a banker who was embezzling.
Mm-hmm.
Emmanuel is the one who dies sticking her hands into some razor blades, and it was supposed to be about reaching into the cookie jar with him embezzling.
Yeah.
Emmanuel is, well, to quote Xavier, "The only door you know how to open is the one between your legs." She's a no-nonsense prostitute or something. Another person who, like everyone else in there, except maybe Xavier, deserves better.
Yeah.
Oh, and Abi. And then we've got the most innocent, at least personality-wise, of the group. We have Laura, who I might accidentally call Beverly because I've watched the commentary a bunch of times and that's the actress's name. Laura is younger. She's nice. She was arrested for a DUI. That's not shown, but that's what they wrote for it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some drugs too, I don't remember, but DUI or DWI.
Yeah.
And she sort of serves one key plot point. Well, a couple key plot points, really, of she's the one who makes some of the connection about Daniel and Eric being son and father to the people in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And she also serves to make the gas real because she dies from a grand mal seizure from it.
Yeah.
And for people who know me, for 6 years I was dating a woman with epilepsy.
Oh.
Most of my ex's seizures were not grand mals, but she does a very accurate grand mal, which she'd actually previously researched for having a grand mal seizure in Seventh Heaven.
Oh, okay. So that's random.
Yeah.
I also think that her presence almost serves as, like, not exactly a red herring because that's not quite the right term, but as a way to disrupt almost their finding out their connection with each other, because she's like in a blazer. She like looks kind of a little bit prim and proper. And I think that makes it harder for them, I think, to make that leap to like, we've all served time.
Yeah, she slows down the connection.
Yeah.
She also leads to, when she reveals the connection, which it's funny because you're absolutely right, she slows down the connection, but she makes the connection too. She actually leads to something I picked up today on my, 50th watch of the movie, that she leads to a continuity error.
Oh, okay.
That is, throughout the movie, Amanda picks things up in the house. She just picks up random things. And if you look very closely, you can see all of them at different points in the building with Jon and Eric and the others. And that's supposed to be a subtle hint that it already happened.
Oh.
She finds the X marks the spot photo. That photo later appears in the house, showing that this already happened. And then Matthews finds it in the house.
Yeah.
And I just picked up on that today for the first time ever. But again, this is a series with so many mistakes that half the time got made into something good.
Yeah, sometimes accidentally.
Like the random limping leading to, oh, but it's Dr. Gordon.
And his missing foot.
Yeah, and like another mistake that ended up going perfectly was with the numbers on the back of the heads that we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
They put a number on the back of Amanda's neck. It is never shown on screen. That's true of some of the, but they put it there, and then they realized later she shouldn't have one, and they never showed it, so it doesn't matter. But they did make the mistake and then retconned it, and if it weren't for the commentary mentioning it, no one would know. She and Danielle don't have numbers.
Right, yeah. And so the last two people in the house are Daniel, Detective Matthew's son, and Amanda of like reverse bear trap fame. When she wakes up, she really sells her fear, like that may or may not be real. It's kind of, like you said, kind of unclear like to what extent she knows what to expect or not. But she is kind of the person who kicks everything off because she starts looking for a tape right away.
Yeah, she's the sort of referee to make people follow the rules. And I mean, I'm a Dungeons and Dragons nerd. She's the DM's player character.
Yes, that's like a perfect description. And so she finds the tape, and the tape explains the poison gas and says that there are antidotes hidden around the house, and there's one in a safe that they have the combination to. And he says, think hard, the numbers are in the back of your mind. And like much later, it gets revealed that they all have numbers kind of like the top of their neck, base of their skull.
And he also says you'll find the key to their order over the rainbow. And I point that out because a lot of people missed, and I mean, I got this from the commentary. I didn't get it at first. They're all written in different colors. Their order is Roy G. Biv.
That's the order. Oh my God. Yeah, I actually don't think I ever really like even thought that hard about that part.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I knew it was from the commentary. Otherwise, I probably just wouldn't have thought that hard about it either.
Yeah. Well, there's also a little bit, I would say a little bit of a plot hole here. And I'm going to say on the whole, this franchise is amazing at like navigating around plot holes.
They're so good at fixing them.
Yeah, like fixing them and like filling them in, right? But I think there's a little bit of a plot hole here because the tape gives a time frame, but he didn't really know what time they would find the tape. Like he doesn't like there's no perfect measure of when people are going to wake up, even Amanda. And Amanda getting the tape before everyone else is awake would have been suspicious. So like that wouldn't have worked anyway. Yeah. So there's like a little bit of a plot hole there.
I'm going to agree with you, but I'm going to say it's not serious because the guy in Saw 1 with the drills to his head was sort of John testing on, and he's done every other one he's done so far, so he's got sort of a baseline idea. And then you figure if one person wakes up, they're going to wake other people with their freak out when and then what I thought of while I was saying that, the gas might not have been turned on until they wake up.
That is an interesting point. I hadn't thought that. Actually would make a lot of sense.
Now, I'm sure you thought about this more than the writers
did. I think that tends to be the vibe with this franchise.
I mean, it's the perfect thing of they don't plan that much, and then they retroactively add the plan when they have a reason to. Yeah. And they're the masters of the retcon and the lucky mistake.
Totally, because they are so good at going back and like going over the previous films with a fine-tooth comb to be like, what do I need to put in here to fill this gap or make this connection? So Amanda finds the tape, they play the tape. They also find a key with a note that says not to use the key in the door. And obviously Amanda is like, no, don't do it. But obviously somebody does, and it activates a trap that just like blows a guy's head off.
Yeah. And again, that's a trap that was 100% fully functional as designed. Obviously, the gun was not actually loaded, but it was a real gun, really rigged up like that. And That's all they say in the commentary, but I'm going to go with it's probably actually easier to make the trap the way they did than it would be to make it with a fake weapon.
Yeah, that still freaks me out though, especially because there have been too many people who get shot on set. Like that's happened more than once, and once should have been enough. I don't know. That freaks me out. But
yes. And again, there wasn't even a blank. There was no bullet whatsoever, but
still scary, staring down a gun.
And then Amanda has a great scene, which they retconned something that makes it so I'm saying this is definitely for her doing it for the other people in the house, but otherwise I would say maybe she knew, maybe she didn't. There's one shot of her trying to take the gun off of the door and failing and giving up. And since in one of the later movies they show her and Jon setting it up.
Yeah. And so this is the part too where like Amanda starts giving them the rundown on like Jigsaw. And I wish we had like a little bit more to go off of like what the public knows. There's like some of them know who he is and some of them don't. It's like not clear how scared the general public is about what's happening with this killer.
Yeah.
But like some of them know who he is, some of them don't. And Amanda is breaking it down for them and saying, he wants us to live. This is a game.
They have the exact line, don't you watch the news?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't even know if that's better or worse, but she breaks it down for them and kind of says, like, if we follow the rules, we can survive. And he does not want us to die.
He wants us to live. She says that at some point.
Yeah, she does. And so the whole movie is like jumping back and forth from Detective Matthews and Jigsaw to this house. So like then we jump back to Detective Matthews and he's like freaking out. Jigsaw wants to have like a nice little private chat with him and says that if they do that, like if Detective Matthews sends the rest of them, they said he's like, they don't have to leave the building. They just have to leave this area. And if you do that and you talk to me, you will see your son again. Detective Matthews is like threatening him. And obviously, like, we know he has kind of a violent history, but Jon Kramer basically says, I'm a cancer patient. How could you put me in any more pain than I'm already in?
Yeah. And Matthews keeps threatening him as, would you be so kind as to get me a glass of water?
He does play the infirm old man well, because he is. It's like not really, it's like playing but not playing.
He is. It is. But so one of my favorite things about this movie that doesn't really get talked about, I mean, it does a little, but the whole movie is about power dynamics. And who's in power and who thinks they're in power.
Yeah. What is the real power dynamic and what is the power dynamic each person involved is perceiving?
The entire movie, Matthews thinks he has power over, well, from when he gets there, thinks he has power over Jon. And physically, he absolutely does. But he's got no power whatsoever. Being sent to get the glass of water, he's a dog on a leash barking for attention while Jon is easily manipulating him.
Yeah.
And then the scene I mentioned earlier of Abby, if you're going to threaten me with a knife, you may as well cut me a little. He stands there unblinking, unflinching, and slits his own throat while Xavier goes from threatening to kill him to backing up, freaking out. And after he gets the power, Abby says, I guess I'm going in there. But I get one of them.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Abby had power. He chose to die in the sense of Jon's rules of failing a trap, but he was in control in terms of the people there.
Yeah, for sure.
The whole time, Xavier chasing Amanda and Daniel. Xavier's this big, strong guy who's got physical power over anyone there, except maybe Jonas, who was overpowering him until the gas got him coughing. And Xavier thinks he's got power, but he's got nothing compared to the power of the mind. Even when Xavier throws Amanda into the needle pit, he's got a little look of, what the fuck did I just do?
Yeah, and even in that, Amanda has power over him because she has set up half of this stuff. Like, so even in that moment, he is still misguided and thinking that he is the one in control.
Yep.
the conversation happening here between Jon Kramer and Detective Matthews is also interesting because when they start to talk about this idea of the Jigsaw killer as a concept, and like he talks about how he did not ever ask anyone to call him that, or like he didn't encourage it, and that the reason he carves the jigsaw piece into his, I'm going to say victims, he calls them his subjects, was that it's like a symbol of the survival instinct, which was the missing piece from the people who didn't survive. So he's also laying his claim to his understanding of his behavior as opposed to the media representation of his behavior.
Yeah, I thought you liked to be called Jigsaw. No, I never claimed that. The media came up with that.
Yeah, so he's trying to take the narrative back almost.
Right. And I'm going to agree with Eric Matthews here and say I've heard it from a million times. Some psycho believes their own stuff. I forget exactly what he says, but I agree with him. You know, this is Jon's chance to give his manifesto.
Yeah.
Which, of course, even in the reveal at the end, there he says to Matthews, "What's the cure for cancer?" Then in the reveal at the end, Amanda says, "What's the cure for cancer?"
Right.
The cure for death, immortality. And this movie, not for the audience necessarily, but for Jon as a character, is his legacy. It is his manifesto. Thesis paper.
Right. And he knows he's wrapping things up.
He knows he doesn't have long left. Weeks, months at most, and that's if he's in a hospital, not
fucking around,
beat to shit, left to die. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so back at the house, they find Abby's tape. And you were just talking about this scene where he basically climbs into like a crematorium like oven to get 2 antidotes, because there's one for him and then one to like Jigsaw says to donate to someone, to give to another person.
Yeah.
And that's when it's revealed that Abby was one of the people who was hired to kidnap some of these people. And so everyone starts threatening him, and he just stays eerily calm. Like he is so scary. He's so scary how calm he, and like you said, the scene where Xavier is like holding a knife to his throat, and he takes the knife and like slits a bit of his throat and says, yeah, like if you're going to threaten me with a knife, you have to cut me a little bit first. And then he goes in, he crawls in, he pulls on the needles and like the antidote needles. And the second one is rigged to slam the door shut and to start the fire in the oven. So Abby is like kicking and screaming, telling them to open the door. This scene, even though Abby is like a really, really scary guy, this scene is like horrible to watch. He is like scooched into the corner of this oven trying to like stay out of the fire as much as he can, but the fire is getting bigger and bigger, and there's just like nothing. I mean, there's just like nothing he can do, and so he is just burning alive. And at the last minute they break the glass and he like almost gets out, but it's too late. And it's interesting because this one seems very survivable, that if everyone else had been able to act faster and like think more on their feet, that he I think almost easily could have lived with just like not even that many burns, probably.
So we talked last time about a lot of the traps, if you just pay attention, are easily survivable. When the furnace is open, before he goes in there, you can see the wire that pulls it shut. And whether or not that you can see that it's rigged to one of the syringes, I don't know. They don't show enough of the inside to see if you can follow that wire. But you can see that it's wired to go shut, which means all they had to do was take something and wedge the door open, and they could have pulled him out.
Yeah.
Also, as the tape said, when you're trapped in hell, only the devil can let you out. There's a devil with a gas cut off inside that if he crawled through the fire and he could put out, he could have wrapped himself in his jacket and done that. It is definitely a survivable trap if you stay calm. And he does a remarkable job of staying calm. If you were actually in that situation, the fire is not what's going to kill you. It's the heat and the smoke. And, well, the heat before the smoke. when you open your mouth and breathe it in, you're going to burn your lungs way faster than smoke inhalation or external burning.
Oh yeah, I guess if you're in that small of
Yeah.
like literal oven,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
I mean, I'm a trained maritime firefighter. I'm not fire department firefighter, but I've got a lot of fire training. The heat is absolutely what's going to kill you. And Abby's in the corner, closing his mouth, pulling his jacket over his mouth and nose. He is doing the right thing for if someone's going to save him. Mm-hmm. But in terms of saving himself, if he put his jacket over his hand and he tried to turn it off, maybe he makes it out, maybe he doesn't. Like I said, it's got the visible wire, so if they took a minute, he could have survived. The other thing is if you trace it and you see, okay, this one pulled off easily, this one pulls, oh, it's a lot harder. Maybe you reach up and inject yourself without even taking it off. There's a lot of ways he could have survived this.
Yeah. And I think that this is also the trap that like sets the stage for a lot of following things, not just in this movie, but in the whole franchise. Jigsaw believes in the power of community.
Yeah.
He wants people to come together and work together to get through these situations.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is the first time you really see that.
Yes.
More clearly.
And I feel like this trap and also the gun in the door both serve the, hey, wake up and work together and follow the rules.
Totally.
But this is such it's the perfect mix of it is survivable. It is, I said in the trap from Michael in the beginning, the Venus flytrap, I would just die. This is a trap where I might live, I might die, but I would 100% try.
Yes, for sure. This one feels like worth trying in.
Yeah.
So what do you rate this one?
10 out of 10. Easily. Yeah. Favorite trap in the movie, maybe favorite trap.
Wow. Okay. I think it's probably my favorite in the movie too. I gave it a 9. It's so scary.
I mean,
the acting is so well as he just like makes himself smaller and smaller, trying to like stay out of like it. Just he really sells it.
Yeah, the acting is perfect. The trap is survivable, but not easily. It plays on real life fears of claustrophobia and fire. It's the trap fits the victim, an arsonist burning. The whole setup with the knife. Actually, I'm going to quote a different Darren Lynn Bosman film. Ask a gentleman who they prefer. 10 out of 9 will say the Bobby.
The Bobby.
Smashing, anti-smashing. And so on. Yeah, 10 out of 9.
You're gonna skip. I will leave their diapers dripping. You're not gonna finish it.
Well, I mean, you started singing too. I thought it was gonna go.
I love that movie. So that trap is something else. That's for sure. So back with Jon Kramer and Detective Matthews. John is like sending Detective Matthews on such a guilt trip at this point. He's basically saying like, you didn't even care about your son, and now that you think your son is going to die, you are acting like you care.
Yeah.
Which, it boosts Jigsaw's point, but like isn't a real point, right? Like everybody gets mad at people, and that doesn't mean that you would be fine with them dying.
He's just pressing buttons left and right, and that's all. It's exactly what he's trying to do.
And this is also where we get a lot more, I guess, character development for John, because this is where we start to see him reflect on finding out about his brain cancer. So he's remembering the day that they tell him that he has cancer. He's remembering that shortly after that, he tried to kill himself and he drove himself off a cliff. And he says, my body had not been strong enough to repel cancer cells, but I had lived through a plunge off a cliff. And that is the moment that he basically decided to spend the rest of his life testing people, because he starts to be just like, on top of his kind of stated motives, he also seems very fascinated by what is survivable to people and what is not survivable to people.
He's also shown pulling a pole that was impaling himself out of himself, which is just, he's showing himself basically surviving one of his own games.
Right, because if he really had wanted to die, all he would have had to do is stay there. He would have bled out eventually. Like, he would have died.
Yeah.
And in the moment, survival instinct took over and he saved himself.
But again, the total hypocrite, because no one's got more survival instinct in probably any of these movies than Xavier.
Yeah.
But also, if anyone deserves to die in these movies other than Avi, it's Xavier.
Yeah. Xavier scares me more than Abby, honestly. But like Abby, I understand is scarier, but Xavier is like more imminently scary, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. Xavier is primal fear. Avi
Yes.
is academic fear.
Right. Like Xavier looks like, and I'm not a small person, but Xavier looks like he could pick me up and snap me like a toothpick.
I'm a former wrestling coach who's done planks with two people standing on my back.
Ouch.
Xavier could break me.
Yeah. Easy. Like just easily.
Yeah.
So back at the house, Amanda starts talking about how she has. Wait, so back at the house, Amanda reveals to Daniel, Detective Matthew's son, that she like first played the game because she had been using drugs, and he asks her her story, and she says that she first started using drugs in jail, and he's like, well, what were you in jail for? And she says possession, and he's like confused about that, and she implies basically that she was framed for possession and then like turned to using to get through her jail time, essentially.
Why don't you ask the cop who arrested me?
Wonder who that cop might have been. Anybody?
I hear you. My dad's a real hard ass.
And it's kind of interesting because you do have to wonder a little bit. He wasn't like so hot on his dad in this moment. He was like not getting along with his dad. You have to wonder if he had been upfront with people and been like, I fucking hate the dude, if they would have turned on him, or if that would have like brought him into the fold.
Xavier still would have. Jonas and Laura both would have been cool. Gus dies too soon.
I'm listening to Wizard and Glass right now, so every time I think of Jonas, I think of like Eldred Jonas.
Yeah.
And like the audiobook reader's voice for him. But literally I refer, like I said, I have a lot of trouble keeping the names straight because there are so many characters and they don't really use their names that much in the movie. And I literally, the next line of my notes is the scary aggro guy referring to Xavier. But so Xavier like brute forces his way into a room with maybe one of the worst traps ever. It's like not the worst on the surface, but
almost definitely the most infamous trap.
Yeah. And there's something so like, I hate needles. So even though I understand that it's not the worst one, and like the damage it would do to your body if you live is like basically the least almost out of a lot of them, it's like so horrifying to me. And so this is the needle pit. And this is Xavier's trap, like specifically. This is the one that was set for him. He is a drug dealer relying on people's addictions and like preying on people's addictions. And so someone is going to have to dig through this pit of needles to find the key and the antidote that it's attached to. He is supposed to go in, but being the scary, horrible man that he is, he picks Amanda up and like throws her into the needle pit. And she's like screaming, obviously, as you would be if you just got jabbed with however many needles. But like Amanda is survivor. Amanda has played this game before, and ultimately, like she's in it to win it. She starts digging through she's screaming, she's shoving the needles around, she's digging, and she does get the key and the antidote.
Well, she gets the key, not the antidote, because Xavier fumbles it.
Yeah, that's true. But she gets to it.
Yeah, she gets to the key. So if Xavier was really in it to win it, he would have thrown someone else in there with her. There was room for two people to look.
Oh, just for efficiency's sake?
Yeah.
Yeah. And while it's happening, right, Daniel is like, someone needs to get in there and help her, but he doesn't jump. I mean, which again, right, like your instincts would tell you not to jump in. It would be a very special person who would actually jump in.
So I asked you before you rewatched it to look at a scene and guess the number of needles in the pit. And it's a number that I only know from the commentary and special features, and it surprises me every time.
Okay, so I will give you an answer, but the thing you need to understand about me as a person and the way my brain works is that pit could have 500 needles in it, and that pit could have 50,000 needles in it, and I would be like, yeah, okay, whichever of those numbers you gave me. So like that's the scale of like my ability to make these kinds of guesses.
Well, humans can only count to about 8. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Some people 8, and then many. Beyond that, just seeing something most humans can't count anyway. So
right. So that all being said, I'm gonna guess like somewhere in the ballpark of 7,000.
okay, that's probably about what I would guess.
Okay, what is it?
It's somewhere between 120 and 130,000.
Holy, but that's what I'm saying. Like I'm like you could.
They bought
Yeah.
1,000 needles,
and they took the ends off of them, right?
Okay, so they bought about 1,000 needles, and it didn't cover the floor of the pit. Ugh. So then they ended up getting 7,000 needles. They got more than 7,000, but 7,000 is what it took to just cover the floor, not even like obscure it. They had hired 2 people specifically just to unscrew the actual needles from the syringes and then put fiber optic syringes in there so that needles into the syringes so that there'd be something visible. And they ended up not having nearly enough, and they hired 2 more people. They had 4 people for 4 days plus 2 people for 2 days, working like 8 to 12 hours a day just doing this. Plus, a lot of the actors, makeup, etc. also helped.
That sounds kind of satisfying.
So they literally had over 20 man days of doing that, plus the actors and crew, and it still wasn't enough. And then they bought another 40,000 syringes that didn't have needles on them, just syringes, and threw that in there. And they added gunk to make it bigger, and they added some little chunks of foam to make it bigger.
That's insane. I mean, they're small. They're small little things.
They also had 10 real needles, which were used in a couple close-up shots. And at one point they had to stop filming because a couple of them fell in the pit. And that took like half a day.
Oh my God. Needle at a needle stack.
The needles sticking out of Amanda's back and arms are real needles with fake syringes, actually. They had to use real needles to get them to be strong enough because the fiber optic wouldn't hold it. They cut off the tips. They're stuck into a prosthesis, so they could do damage, but you'd have to really try. And then the syringes were ultralight fake syringes on the real needles so that the syringes would be able to hold it up or wouldn't bend the needle.
Ugh.
Now, horrible. My roommate for 3 of my 4 years in college was terrified of needles to the extent of we're doing our medical class and we inject each other with saline in our medical class, and he almost fainted and then snuck out of class.
That would be me.
He was not a big horror movie fan in general, but he loved the Saw series. And it was the one scene he could not watch, and I loved watching him watch it.
It's a hard one for me to watch, honestly. I think, and I don't think this is just me, I think that traps, not just in Saw, so I won't just say traps, but situations that you can more reasonably imagine the sensations of are much harder to watch than things that I totally like. I can't imagine being in the rack and like having my limbs twisted all the way around. Like I can't picture that, but like I can picture a needle getting stuck too aggressively in my body and then having that happen 50 times.
Yeah.
You know, that's like a pretty easy to grab onto sensation.
Which absolutely makes this one worse, and also absolutely makes Abby's trap worse, because who hasn't burned themselves at least a little?
Right. I have really bad hypermobility, which also means I have no spatial awareness. So like I burn myself once a week.
Yeah.
Because I like to cook.
I've got a brand from camping when I was 4.
Yeah. What's your rating for that one?
In terms of popularity, and not my rating, but just like, this is, like I said, maybe the most infamous, famous, popular, scary trap to people in the series. In terms of personal, let's see. It follows Jon's rules. It's not an unwinnable trap, although I really think finding the key in 130,000 needles is impossible. But the syringe is glowing to make it findable. So it is winnable. Xavier, if he didn't fumble, could have won it. The fact that you have to throw yourself into the pit gives it bonus points. It follows all the rules.
It has the symbolism.
It has the symbolism. I don't really want to give it a 10 just because I feel like that's a disservice to give it the same rating as what might be my favorite trap in the whole series with the oven, and also because like half the traps in this movie I could give a 10, so I'm going to give it a 9.8.
Okay, fair. I would give it a 9 for sure. I think it's like, I just think it's so scary. Like I said, there's something about how easy it is to imagine the sensation that makes it.
Yeah.
We've all been given an injection by someone who didn't have enough patience.
Mm-hmm.
My first COVID vaccine, I remember, like it was when we were doing like I guess I don't know if this was near you, but we were doing like the drive up situation.
Yeah.
And
I went with my mom for her first, which was like that. My first was inside.
Yeah, I worked in healthcare, so my grandma and I were able to get, like, I got them during the wave that like the older people were getting them during, and so we drove in together, and I was in the passenger seat, and I wanted it done in my left arm because I like knew that it would be like incapacitating, and that I wouldn't want it in my right arm because I'm a righty. So I like turned around in my seat, and she like started giving me the shot before I had like fully settled down, and I was like, ow.
Oof.
And then she was like, and she literally was like, well, you need to sit still. And I was like, well, I wasn't ready. I would have told you I was ready.
Yeah, exactly.
She like really, really, like, it hurt so, and like it wasn't just like, oh, it hurt after. They all hurt after, but like the actual injection was like done so poorly that it hurt so much right away. So I just like picture that, but like all over me. Ugh.
Okay, I'll give you another reason that I'm going to give this the 9.8 instead of the 10, which is something that probably honestly makes it better, but in my opinion, it makes it lesser. There's 3 minutes on the timer.
Right.
And the original version, they actually filmed a version where Amanda's in the pit for over 2 minutes. And there's 35 seconds of footage of it that made it into the movie. And I'm not saying it should be actually 3 minutes. I'm just saying I want to see the discomfort of the 2 minutes.
Yeah. I actually think that for a situation that takes place over 2 hours, they kind of missed their chance to do some like real time stuff that would have been really stressful and cool. I think this was,
I agree,
before horror movies were regularly like over 2 hours long. You know what I mean? That wasn't as common back then.
You're right, but the other reason they really should have done it, this movie came out in 2005, which means this came out in the height of popularity of the show 24, where they were doing real-time TV. And that's another reason they really should have just done some real-time with it.
Yeah, it didn't have to be the whole thing. Like, you know, it didn't have to be literally the whole 2 hours, but some of these,
but like the certain scenes.
Yeah. And it's not like it had to be like on her for the whole 2 minutes, but just like her in the room and like just everything going on.
Yeah. And again, it probably honestly is better with the shorter version, but I know from the commentary them talking about the 2 minute version, and I've never seen it, it's not like released as a deleted scene, they all said how much more intense it was.
Oh god, I'm sure, because how could it not be?
Right. Now, you ready for me to make it more intense than you ever realized?
Yes.
Shawnee Smith, who plays Amanda.
Oh, doesn't she have a phobia of needles?
4 months pregnant.
Was 4 months pregnant?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. That like stresses me out about everything about the movie.
No one knew it until the night they filmed this. When she went to dinner. Well, she knew it, but she went to dinner with Darren and her older daughter, and her daughter told Darren.
Oh my god. Wow.
But she was keeping a secret from everyone else.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Wow, that's intense. Oof. But yeah, so Amanda digs through, finds the things, but it's too late by the time she gets the key and the door seals. So all kind of for nothing.
And that happens a lot.
And then we're back with the cops because We're just back and forth and back and forth. And they're trying to figure out how to get more information. And this is the point where Detective Matthews starts like playing a little more rough. He's like trashing the office.
He's got like 30 minutes left in the 2-hour timer.
Yeah.
He wants to break Jon's neck.
And Jon is like reading him dead to rights, like just kind of calling him on his bullshit and like staying really, really calm as Detective Matthews is like just trashing all of his plans in office.
Poke bear, poke bear, poke bear.
Yes,
poke
totally
bear.
poking the bear. This is the time where they flash back to the house and like everyone is really looking fucked up. Like everybody is looking way more run down. They really do not look good. They look much more sick. The big scary guy, Xavier, I keep saying that because that is what's in my notes, realizes that there is a number on the back of the dead guy's neck and realizes that this is the combination. So because he is a big douchebag, he won't just like talk to the other people and explain what he has discovered. He pulls a knife on Jonas. So they kind of duke it out, and I actually like Jonas would have won, which is very impressive if not for this poison gas situation, because he kind of gets into a coughing fit and starts coughing up blood long enough for Xavier to pick up a weapon. Please tell me what this type of weapon is called. It is on the tip of my tongue.
He picks up a maul. It's a spike club. It's an improvised maul, but actually, sorry, an improvised Morning Star. Anyway.
Ooh. That's badass sounding. Okay, picks that up and kills him.
It's so realistic. What I love about that scene is who hasn't been sick, not with poison gas, but been sick and had that debilitating coughing fit where it doesn't matter what's going on, you're done.
Right.
And Jonas's coughing fit was just, like you said, he would have won the fight.
Just came at the worst possible time.
And he's there as this person who, again, he's got family outside and there's people who's going to come after him. And if Xavier said, I just need the number on the back of your neck to get in, we're going to work together and I'll help you get another antidote, he could have been lying. But if he said that, Jonas would have helped.
Yes, Jonas was trying to get them to work together. Jonas was basically like, I have enough enemies outside of these walls. I don't need to make enemies in here. I need to live.
Yeah. And maybe they would have fought to the death after getting the antidote out, but he would have helped.
This is also the point where, like, in the other room, the women find the photo of Daniel and his dad, Detective Matthews, and it gets revealed that not only were all of these people in prison, but they were all wrongfully imprisoned because they were framed by Detective Matthews. And obviously, as going to prison tends to do, that like totally ruined their lives and like set most of them down darker paths than they probably would have gone down otherwise.
With neither of us being experts, we could do an entire series of podcasts about how messed up our prison system is.
Totally. Even if you're not wrong, like even if you're quote unquote rightfully convicted, it's like that's it. You're like, that's going to ruin so many things.
Yeah.
So they find it and they're obviously upset. Then Xavier finds it, which is obviously worse. And he is pissed. Amanda is protecting Daniel. Like, and in the, at the time, if you don't know what's happening, you're like, oh, I wonder why she's like protecting him so much.
Yeah.
And then back with Jon Kramer and Detective Matthews. Detective Matthews is like over it, and now he's just like fully throttling Jon Kramer. Like he's beating the shit out of him,
breaking fingers, and
he snaps one of his fingers like back. It's that, which is another moment that you can kind of imagine a little too well. Like that hurts me to watch.
Yeah.
And I mean, one thing you have to love about Jon Kramer is that Jon Kramer hates the cops, and like not just because they're trying to like thwart his plans. Like he just hates the cops because while Detective Matthews is like beating the shit out of him, he goes, now that's the Eric Matthews they gave medals to. Like Jigsaw really said ACAB. Like he was like cops are violent.
Yeah, Jigsaw is, I don't know that I don't think he's full ACAB, but he's definitely not a supporter.
Yeah, he definitely knows that like the police system rewards police violence.
Yeah, which goes back to what we were talking about earlier of the staircase booby trap where it's like, oh, they're cops.
Exactly.
Oh, just speak. I remembered this like a minute ago when you said just a moment about the breaking the fingers. One of my favorite moments in the movie, my favorite jump scare in the whole movie, and 20 years later, it still gets me sometimes, is Jonas on the stairs to Amanda. When Amanda, earlier in the movie, when Amanda and Daniel are talking, it's Daniel says, "My father's a real hard ass," instead of calling his dad a cop. And then Jonas tells Amanda, "We found another room," and it's the needle pit. But just the way Jonas pops up is. I still jump sometimes. 20 years later,
Yeah.
probably 50 plus viewings.
Yeah. Yeah. It's well done. It's like well done and not overstated. So at the house, so this is where we get to like another. This one, like you said, I mean, this movie is full of like really, really iconic traps. So what's this girl's name?
Emmanuel?
So I don't know what to call this. I call this like a reverse like straw hole because that's like
Yeah.
what it makes me think
The
of. Like when
Chinese
you
finger
stick
trap.
yeah, like you stick a straw in and the spikes are like the little spiky parts of the cup are like down and then so she finds an antidote and she sticks her hands up through the holes and there's razors that are cutting into her wrist if she tries to like withdraw.
Mm-hmm.
And this is another one that's really like sad to watch because it would be really, really easy for anyone to help her.
Yeah.
You know, if you just stuck like your fingers up there and like held the thing open, she could, I mean, very easily withdraw.
Like the correct way to succeed in this trap is they show there's a key inside and a lock up on the top. And the way you win this trap is you, with one hand, reach in, another hand, hold it open, and you might cut yourself a little, but not super badly.
Right.
And you unlock it on the top, pull your arm out, go around, and instead, she gets one hand in and pulls the syringe up, dripping the liquid out, making it completely useless.
Yep.
And in her delirium, she reaches up with the other hand and gets rid of any hope of getting out, as well as making her pain worse.
Right. And that is when Xavier walks into the room and, you know, she thinks maybe someone's going to help her. And he just looks at the number on the back of her neck and then leaves her there to die.
Again, just going for actors versus people, and Xavier supposedly being the nicest, most interesting, most improvising, funny guy. Before they filmed it, Emmanuel's actor says to Xavier, "Be careful with my hair. I've got hair extensions." And he said, "I've had them before. I know how much that hurts." And if you look, he is so ginger with her hair.
He's very gentle.
And it comes off like he's being a creep, which is perfect because
yes, it seems like weird and seductive. Like not seductive, but like it would be seductive.
Right, which is perfect for adding to the atmosphere. But really it's just the nice guy trying not to hurt someone else, and it just makes him so much creepier when in reality it's sweet.
I'm sure he thought about that too. Like, how can I do this gently, but in a way that is still really scary?
I think so. And like I said earlier, this trap was written for Gus, who got shot in the eye. And the actual theme was reaching your hand into a cookie jar and taking things because he was an embezzler. I would love to have heard the tape, but of course, it's perfect to see Emmanuel pull out the tape, not have a tape player, and just toss it aside and reach in, and it shows her desperation.
Yeah, because they're running out of time.
Mm-hmm. And I think both her desperation, right down to getting the second hand in there after it was already pointless, and Xavier looking at the back of her neck, I think both of those two moments are way better than the trap itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it just it really sells, like you said, the desperation of the situation, and it really shows the toll that this is like taking on everybody.
Exactly.
Because they're getting more, like you said, like they're kind of getting more and more delirious and like less able to think clearly or strategize. It's kind of like you said, with the exception of Amanda and Daniel. And so Xavier is like storming around the house chasing Daniel and Amanda, like to try to get their numbers from the back of their necks. And Amanda finds a door below the safe, like a trap door, and the key from earlier unlocks that door, and they go through the door.
And by the way, that's the scene I mentioned earlier where Xavier accidentally knocked down a wall in real life.
Yeah.
He's pounding on the door and he knocked down the whole wall.
That's amazing. I would love to see that blooper.
Yeah. Which, by the way, when I saw the Saw musical, they had to pause the musical because one of the walls fell down. I think I told you that like when I actually saw it. But yeah, it was like a set dressing wall on top of a real wall and it fell down. And yeah.
That's so funny. Classic Saw move.
Yeah. Classic Saw movement. Just like shaking a car.
Yeah.
For a car chase.
Yes. Okay, so Jigsaw at this point has like taken Detective Matthews in the car, or well, like Detective Matthews is driving, but they've left at this point. They've kind of snuck out. Now it's like really quickly cutting back and forth between Amanda and Daniel running through the house being pursued by Xavier, and then Detective Matthews looking around the house and like finding the dead bodies of the other people, and then the SWAT team arriving at another house, and then so like we're all over the place as you tend to be in a Saw movie. And then back at the warehouse, the detectives that are still there can't see the SWAT team on any of the security cameras, even though the SWAT team is like, we're here, like we're inside.
You're not there. Repeat, you're not there. Repeat, not showing up. Repeat, can't see you. Repeat, can't see you.
Right. And so the hallway that Daniel and Amanda are running through spits them out right into the original Saw bathroom, which is such a good moment. It's such fan service without feeling forced. Like like you really see it and you're like, of course it's all in one place. Of course it's just rigged to look this way, but it's really all one place. It makes a lot more sense that he has this one place that he's able to build all of these rooms in, and then that he has houses and places all over the place.
Right. I mean, he does have another house just to send the SWAT team to.
But it's a regular house.
Yeah.
Crucially, it's a regular house. It doesn't have all this like elaborate shit in it.
Right. I mean, in real life, it's actually the exact same house because they couldn't afford another location. But it's set up to be a normal house. Yeah. Yes. Well, it's set up to be a normal house that looks similar to delay their realization.
Right. And so they are in this bathroom and Xavier gets to them and Amanda is basically like, if I don't tell you your number, how are you going to know what your number is? And he's like, he's like looking for the mirrors. The mirrors are dirty. They don't like really work.
And Daniel's playing dead. And what Amanda knows and Daniel doesn't is she cannot let him have the number because she has no number.
Yeah.
Daniel doesn't know that. He probably hasn't even realized about the numbers. But Amanda knows we cannot give him our number. You know, Amanda, who's at this point in the continuity wants people to live. Amanda, who's always trying to save lives and breaks rules to save lives at this point.
Yeah.
She would probably just say, okay, I'll read you Daniel's number and he'll read you mine and then we'll read you yours. You can get the antidote, leave us alone.
Right.
But she can't do that, which leads to I'll let you finish what happens.
Right. This is like a crazy fucking moment. Xavier reaches back with a knife and just peels the skin off of his neck to get the number. And I have to like, and Amanda actually looks like genuinely fucking horrified in this moment. Like she looks shaken to her core.
Yeah, she's witnessing, first of all, she's witnessing that. Second of all, she's witnessing he has the survival instinct right there.
Yeah.
And third, she's witnessing if he's that unhinged, I might be fucked.
Right. Because that's the thing, right? Amanda may be in on it, but like there are so many points in this movie where she could be killed.
Yeah.
And the other thing about this is like, he does this without looking. And so I'm like, that was a big old risk. You could have cut the number in a way that obscured it too much. Like how did he aim that perfectly?
Yeah. Well, he took a big chunk. He took like
He did.
a deck of cards size piece of skin for a number that's the size of a quarter.
He did. He really went for it. Basically, right after this, Daniel slits his throat with the saw, the famous saw of Saw fame. And that's that for Xavier. Like that's it. He did all that. He had that survival instinct, and Daniel killed him. I mean, rightfully, I would say killed him.
It was self-defense, but she made the little shoplifter into actual murderer.
Yeah.
And sorry, not a murderer. And the other thing on that too is just, it's a little hint that the movie drops that everyone else is coughing and hacking shit up until right before that scene. We never saw Daniel sick at all. And then again, we talked about he must have had probably some antidote, but not as much. He coughs up a little bit of blood. Everyone else has been coughing up blood for an hour and a half.
Right.
He coughs up a little bit of blood and looks at Amanda and freaks out. Meanwhile, Laura's already died from the gas before he's had his first symptom.
Yeah.
And to go from that to her telling Xavier he's dead, but it's perfect with Xavier's not paying attention to that kind of thing because it's a different people. He doesn't care about different people.
Right. He's just in it for himself. So at this point, Detective Matthews is walking through the house. He's looking for Daniel. The SWAT team is looking for them at the other house. And finally, they figure out that they are not watching live security camera footage. They are watching tapes. They are watching something that has already transpired and is over. And the SWAT team isn't even at the right house, but Detective Matthews is. And Detective Matthews gets to the bathroom. Famous, iconic pig mask person pops up and drugs him.
Mm-hmm.
And back at the warehouse, the timer counts down and a nearby safe opens and reveals that Daniel is safely inside the safe with an oxygen mask strapped to his face. And he is alive and like relatively unscathed.
Other than a lifetime of trauma,
yes.
His first murder, witnessing a bunch of people dying, he's fine.
Yes, totally. Lots of therapy in store for this one.
Yeah, you'll find him in a safe and secure state.
Yes.
I mean, John only literally told Eric Matthews twice.
Yeah. Because he always tells you what's happening. He always tells.
And then when he agreed to drive him, he said, game over.
Yeah.
He said, you lost.
And now it is Detective Matthews' turn for real, right? Like this was kind of his game, but now it's his game for real. On the tape is not Jon Kramer, but Amanda. And it's finally revealed officially that Amanda didn't just survive her trap, she became a Jon Kramer disciple. She has joined up for the cause.
He helped me.
Yeah. And Matthews is her first test subject. And in like a mirror shot of the first movie, she says game over and slams the bathroom door shut. And it's so iconic.
With a completely different scream from Matthews versus Adam.
And somehow, maybe because this is already a sequel, I don't know, but something about this moment feels like more of a setup for the next movie than the end of Saw does. The end of the first movie is like, okay, Adam's gonna die. Like, that's the end of that.
Yeah.
That one is closing a door and it feels like a closed door. And this one is closing a door, but it feels like an open door.
And of course, Saw 3 begins seconds after Saw 2 ends.
Right.
But also, with Saw, it was a short film that got, okay, we're going to make a movie, write a script. They didn't have a sequel planned.
Right.
And yes, they brought in the writer and the writer-director of Lee Wanell and James Wan as producers who helped on this. But it was a different main people. Darren Lynn Bosman replaced both of them.
Yeah.
Darren did, I believe, 2 through 4.
He did that whole chunk.
And then I think from 5 on, he was involved the same way James and Lee were, like producer, helper, not heavily involved.
Yeah. But he is really responsible for making this a franchise.
Yes.
And he did a great job.
And of course, James and Lee have gone on to be such successful creators. That was their first movie. Right. Darren's gone on to be so successful. This was his first movie.
Right. I mean, this was a knockout of the park immediately.
It was like a $3 million budget or something ridiculously low for the amount of special effects they pull off and everything.
I love this movie. The first movie is such a good, like, capsule movie, right? It's, like, so self-contained. But I just love the way that this sequel just ramps up the complexity and says, oh, you thought this was going to be a little complicated, but no, we're going to throw you in the deep end. Like, you're going to see that this is bigger than you could ever imagine.
What's funny is this movie is, like you said earlier, way more straightforward, way more simple. But exactly what you just said but it also makes everything more complex and bigger.
Right. It's like the actual plot is much more simple and like easy to follow, but the implications of the movie are vast.
Yeah. Another thing that's great about the first 4 movies is each one could be the end, or it could be there's more. I mean, just to spoil the first 4 movies rapid fire, first movie, it's a capsule, like you just said, but the killer walks away at the end. Second movie, oh, hey, the killer may or may not still be alive, but his apprentice is alive and free.
Yeah.
Third movie, oh, I guess everything's done. Both killers are dead. But, oh, wait, the 4th movie took place at the exact same time? What?
Right. Right.
But
that's
again,
crazy. That's really crazy to me, how they pulled that off.
Yeah. And obviously 3 and 4 were written together, which was not true about anything before that.
Right.
And then 4 sets up 5 perfectly. And then with 5 and 6, it's like it could end there or not. Just like all the others could easily have been the end. 7 is like this movie where it's just, hey, there's more. We could keep going a million times, which again...
Right. Here are a bunch of new and interesting ways for the human body to suffer.
Yeah. But also, hey, there's 50 disciples right there.
Yeah.
And we're doing franchises. Of course, that ends with I've said this to you before, my biggest complaint about the movie Jigsaw is the premise they set up worked fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But they should have referenced 7. They should have referenced the support groups. When they've got that set up, why are they ignoring it?
Yeah, that would have been something that they should have brought back, I would say, multiple times.
I have the same complaint about Spiral, but it's just they set it up for copycats, and then they had the next 2 movies be copycats that weren't using that setup.
Right. It was an interesting choice, but I'm excited to talk about that one and like talk about the way the support group functions in this universe, because that's really an interesting concept, that like the people who have survived would all be in a support group together, like talking it through, and the differences in people's reactions to the experiences.
Exactly. The people talking about how he helped them, how their life is better, and then I lost my fucking arm. How am I any better off?
Which is obviously totally valid. Like, that there would be also people who were like, no, this was horrible and I hated it.
Yeah. I'll talk for hours or days about how much Jon is a hypocrite and a cult leader and his stuff is all full of shit. But that doesn't mean the logic isn't real. And that doesn't mean there aren't some people it could help.
Right. Making meaning of trauma.
Yeah.